All right, let's get right into it. Just picture this. It's a totally normal Sunday afternoon in Denver. You're maybe watching the game, making dinner, and then, boom, everything just goes dark. An entire chunk of a major American city is suddenly in the dark, and everyone is asking the exact same thing. What in the world just happened?
And of course, that question immediately exploded onto social media. I mean, this quote right here, it just perfectly nails the feeling on the ground. Just pure frustration and zero information. You know, your power goes out without any warning, and the first thing you do is grab your phone to find out why. But as we're about to see, getting those answers was a whole other problem.
Because, you see, this was so much more than just the lights going out. What happened next was this massive domino effect. The outage started to trigger failures in some of the city's most critical systems. This is the moment a power problem starts to snowball into a genuine citywide crisis. So let's break down exactly what that looked like.
And this is where things get really frustrating for everyone involved, because it wasn't just one crisis, it was two happening at the same time. So on the ground, you've got the blackout itself, but then when people went online to get help, they just slammed into a digital brick wall. The Xcel Energy website, it was either crawling or completely down. Their phone lines, totally jammed. And the outage map, the one tool that's built for this exact scenario, it wasn't even working. It was literally an information blackout right on top of the power blackout.
Wow. Yeah, this slide really shows you how deep this whole thing went. We're not just talking about your Wi-Fi going out. We're talking about the trains at Denver International Airport just stopping, dead in their tracks, leaving travelers completely stranded. And even worse, emergency services got hit. The Parker Police Department lost their emergency lines. Aurora's 911 was temporarily down. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office was getting flooded with calls they couldn't handle. The big takeaway here is that our safety net, our 911 services, it's all tied directly to the power grid. And when one goes down, the other is in serious, serious trouble.
So, what on earth could cause something this big? A failure that was so widespread and so catastrophic? Well, the answer isn't some complex, crazy event. Nope, it all traces back to one single explosive moment at one very specific place.
Right? It wasn't a storm, it wasn't a solar flare, nothing like that. As this slide is hinting, the entire citywide failure, all of that chaos, it came down to one facility, one piece of equipment. And the moment it all went wrong happened in a single, violent flash.
And here it is. This is ground zero for the whole blackout, an Xcel Energy substation over in Aurora. A local resident actually managed to capture video of it happening. They described this huge explosion, followed by a massive, visible arc of electricity lighting up the sky. It was that single, violent failure that sent a shockwave through the entire grid, knocking out power across the city.
Okay, so now that we know what caused it, let's talk about the real-world impact. We need to talk numbers. Just how many people were actually left in the dark because of that one explosion? When you see the final tally, the scale is, well, it's pretty staggering.
So this chart breaks it all down for us. You have the two main utilities that were involved. Xcel Energy, right? That's where the problem started. They had 148,000 of their customers lose power. But the problem that didn't stop there. It cascaded over to Core Electric, and that affected another 44,350 of their customers. So when you add it all up, you are looking at more than 190,000 customers impacted. Just incredible.
This table here, it gives us a really clear picture of not just the damage, but also the response. Now check out Core Electric. I mean, they were hit hard across 4 different counties, but they managed to get all 44,000 of their customers back on by 5:26 p.m. That is a seriously fast recovery. Xcel Energy obviously had a much bigger fire to put out with 148,000 customers down, but even then, by 8:30 that night, they had restored power to all but 21 of them. So you have this massive outage, followed by a massive and frankly pretty quick response.
And that response is really the final piece of this whole story. With critical systems down and almost 200,000 customers sitting in the dark, it really did become a race against time to fix the problem and bring some order back to the city.
So let's just look at how they won that race. This timeline here shows a really rapid, focused effort. The absolute first priority was safety, getting those police emergency lines back up and running by 4:25 p.m. Then, just about an hour later, boom, Core Electric has their entire network back online. The biggest job, of course, fell to Xcel, but by 8:30 that evening, they had basically conquered their huge outage. It's a story of going from total chaos to almost complete restoration, all in a single evening. So what's the real takeaway here? What do we make of all this? Because on one hand, you've got this incredibly fast, effective response that brought a major city back from the brink in just a few hours. That's impressive. But on the other hand, you have a system where one explosion at one substation can knock out 911 services and cripple an international airport. It really leaves us with this huge question to think about. Does this whole event show us a resilient system that can recover quickly? Or does it expose a dangerously fragile system that was just one accident away from total collapse?